And I told my mom, bring me my Hassenpfeffer.
Those 10% of you who have no idea what we're talking about.
You're gone. Well, a warm welcome to you all. This video is about what we would tell someone who is new to carnivore. I'm JJ, I'm a life coach, and I eat mostly meat.
I'm Eric, I am a novelist, and I eat mostly meat.
Now, we were recently at a meetup, our first meetup.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Hey, we are here in Thiensville, Wisconsin, about an hour from our home, and we're here for Carrie's Healing Humanity meetup. Yeah, with Carrie Mann, Homestead How up in Thiensville, Wisconsin, and JT, hey JT, we met someone who was considering carnivore.
Yeah, they were attached to a ketovore.
Yes.
But this individual was not committed.
Yeah, so he was asking everyone about what they would do when they were new to carnivore, so that sparked this video.
That's right.
Yeah, so let's start out with what we would do before you commit to carnivore.
Well, the obvious thing is to get a before picture like I did in the privacy of the bathroom. I got a shirt off photo of me making my modest arm muscle. But back then, it was just a little noodle.
Oh, not a noodle.
It was a little droopy noodle. But now, I got a hoodie on now to protect you from my arms right now. And of course, the starting weight. What I didn't do was a measure of my waist, which I wish I would have done.
See, I didn't take that tack. Now, I wish I did, because we were recently trying to find before pictures of me.
Because we made a video about this.
And I didn't do this because in the past, when I tried things and they didn't work, that picture was in my camera roll just shaming me.
Isn't that what it's supposed to do?
I don't like that tack. So anyway, I didn't take a before picture, but I did have my measurements, including my waist.
Yeah.
And I did have my weight.
The other thing that I would have been a little more deliberate about would have been writing all the little minor health and physical pains and aches and issues that I had so that I could have something to check off as they resolved on carnivore, which they did.
You might have heard clear out your pantry. Just get rid of all those carbs. Get rid of them. Throw them away.
Those were expensive.
So, yeah. Some people might have a problem with that, throwing away that, or think that it's not going to work and you don't want to rebuy that bread in a week.
Yeah, I have an idea about this, by the way.
Oh, well, hold on. But you might also have family members who are still eating those foods, which I do. I have a daughter right now who's, when she comes home from college, she's a carbivore, definitely. But when I started carnivore, I didn't tell you. And so I was still having sweet potatoes in the pantry.
Yeah.
What is essential, though, is that you clear out the bingy foods for you. So if you are a potato chip person, get rid of those potato chips. Your family will survive without those potato chips. Whatever it is, clear it out. And maybe even separate your family's foods. I know has one, our daughter, has one thing, one shelf in our pantry that's hers. It's on the bottom. You have to go looking for it.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is. And there have been times where I've gone, how stale are those graham crackers, I wonder.
So what was your idea?
My idea was give them to a frenemy who you want to sabotage.
That is an idea. That is or this one's always so bad, donate to the food pantry.
Yeah. Make the homeless more sick. That's a great idea. Except for, not starving is better than starving.
Yeah.
So there is a certain type of person, a student, who will do many of these things very intentionally before starting a program. And then there is a more ad hoc kind of person who makes things up as they go. Clear out your pantry is not something that I would actively ever go do. There's a segment of you out there who are like me, who are constitutionally incapable of any preparation whatsoever.
You're good at the next thing. Before you even start carnivore, what do you need to do?
You need to absolutely commit to a minimum amount of time to do it. And that minimum time, in my opinion, is 90 days. But I committed for 30. But my opinion is based upon my own experience. And if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, commit for 90 days You absolute moron. Do it for 30 because that gives you enough time, most people enough time to get through the adaptation to keto and also maybe get through some of the intestinal issues that might happen, did for me, and allow the craving to pass. During that time, you are absolutely not having any artificial sweeteners because they will not let you get over your cravings if you keep consuming them. But I would think that an obvious program to say I'm going to do for 30 days is beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. And maybe you can have your coffee because you're hopelessly addicted, and getting over a coffee addiction at the same time you're starting carnivore may not be a recipe for success.
Do I get to have that mocha flavoring in my coffee?
No.
Well, what about cream?
Is cream beef, bacon, butter, and eggs?
No,
No.
it's not.
Could you put butter in your coffee?
Yeah?
Yes, you could.
Can you froth it with the butter?
You could froth it if you had a frother. I feel like I've got a lisp all this time.
First, you need a frother.
Suffering succotash. Okay, so I've seen the analytics of who watches our videos, and I am sure that 90% of you absolutely know who I'm talking about when I say suffering succotash.
Yeah.
But there is that 10% of you who has no idea.
But don't eat the succotash.
I don't even know what succotash is.
Oh, I think it's corn and like lima beans.
All I know is it suffers.
Yeah, exactly. It's don't eat it.
If I didn't know this was Hassenpfeffer, I would swear it was carrots. I don't know. Can you eat Hassenpfeffer on carnivore?
Yes. Bring me some Hassenpfeffer.
But is there like a cream sauce?
No, I
or-
think it's just rabbit.
It's just rabbit?
I think it's just rabbit. I haven't had rabbit since I was a kid. It was dry.
I've never had rabbit.
And I told my mom, bring me my Hassenpfeffer. But we should try it.
yeah,
I bet we should do it.
And those 10% of you who have no idea what we're talking about.
You're gone.
You basically missed out on the golden age of humanity. That's all I have to say.
No, I did not. I could not commit to that. Let me just say that. Now, I had a different situation. I had started fasting several months before I started intermittent fasting.
She was so hungry after several months of fasting.
No, I had done an eating window, intermittent fasting, for several months before I moved sort of naturally into carnivore. So I didn't really, I knew how to say no to those carbs that were calling my name because they did when I was fasting, and I'd gotten over that, and I'd become more fat adapted and more fed by ketones. So I didn't have that phase, but what I really needed to commit to for me was lowering my insulin. I was working on consciously keeping my insulin lower, and that's what sort of led me into low carb and carnivore. So that was sort of my commitment. But if I had committed, for me, my personality, to I'm going to do 30 days of this, I think that might have been a little daunting. I kind of needed the out.
Oh. Well, I mean, that worked for you, though.
It did work for me. Yeah.
Because it worked.
Yeah.
If it didn't work, you would have flaked out on it and given up.
Yeah, but I did have a very strong commitment at that time to my health, my vitality, and lowering my insulin.
Okay, so that's all the prelude to actually doing carnivore. So if someone was new to carnivore and they'd had all the setup for it that we described,
This might be a little controversial. You may even disagree with this.
I am looking forward to hearing it.
I'm thinking don't weigh yourself for at least 30 days. Let your body go through that adaptation. I know we get a lot of people who, in our comments, who get really demotivated when they don't see that scale moving when they've started.
Yeah. This is why I don't disagree, but that's not how I did it.
Okay.
I weigh myself every day, and I have for years. So I would say measure your waist, not your weight, because you're more likely to see the change in waistline sooner. Because carnivore, you will be adding muscle mass as you're losing fat. And so there may be an evening out, so the scale may not show the progress that's actually happening.
I can get on board with that. I don't know how much my waist changed in 30 days, yet I actually didn't lose weight for 7 months. And yet I was seeing definite body recomposition.
Yeah. So
that might be good. I also think a good technique is to focus on some of those things you listed earlier, those sort of non-scale things, the ailments you have, the aches, the pains, the IBS,
energy,
the gas, the
brain
energy,
fog.
brain fog, and really focus on inflammation. Where are you seeing less inflammation? Is it showing up in less gut inflammation? Is it less allergy inflammation?
Because those quality of life things are so much more motivating than what's on the scale.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought that was true in my 30s. But here in my 50s, I can say without any question, not having GERD and IBS all the time is way more important to me than whether I'm 5 or 10 pounds heavier. Really. Now, I'm glad I'm not 10 pounds heavier than I am.
It's great.
Because the way carnivore works is that it eventually does recompose the body. But those non-scale benefits from day-to-day quality of life are invaluable.
And that was something a lot of people at the Meet Up talked about, actually, is that it really wasn't about the weight. It was about the quality of life.
Well, there was a number of people who are our age or older who, you inevitably end up with some health issues. And you end up in the health industry with doctors who mean well, and they do what they train to do. But then when you encounter the benefits of carnivore and you get so much more relief and so much more resolution to these problems, the not only do you feel better, but there's this sense that you're not having to rely on these external chemicals and very weird processes in the healthcare industry for your health and longevity. That you've actually found the thing that happens before you get to the doctor is way, way more powerful. And it gives people a sense of freedom. And there was a circle there right before we had to leave, and a number of people were sort of testifying about how it had changed their lives and medications they'd come off of. And you could just see like the transformation and how empowered they felt in this new phase of life.
That's a great word, yeah. You get empowerment and you get freedom.
Yeah.
And that's not measured by the scale. So let's say a new person, they're on carnivore now.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
You're going to want to make sure, one, you're eating the fat on the steak. Because I had been trained to just cut that stuff right off and set it aside, and either the dogs would get it, and I was worried it was bad for them. I'm like, I don't know, they should be clogging up their arteries. A ribeye might have a pretty good balance, but if you're having a fillet or you're having chicken, your pork
tenderloin
might be a little too lean, so you need to supplement with other ways of getting in enough fat so that you're in ketosis and getting that energy. And it's like a whole like paradigm adjustment of like what you're actually going to eat is all that fat and getting it in. And letting yourself chew it and swallow it and not think you're killing yourself immediately.
Now, I didn't think I was killing myself immediately, but I remember very distinctly being about 4 or 5 years old, and my grandfather's wife chastised me for eating the fat.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember her very well, Marion. She's long gone, I'm sure. But she chastised me for eating the fat. And I'm like 4 or 5 years old.
Well, she didn't want you to be unhealthy, right?
I guess so. I think she maybe she was Aunt Petunia pursed lips.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen us talk about Aunt Petunia, there's a video about Grandma bakes a pie for Easter and whether or not you should eat it. And gauging by 2 or 3 of the comments, we are evil people. Sorry. To those commenters who thought that.
Yeah. So what about, everyone talks about electrolytes.
Electrolytes and salt. I think people talk about electrolytes and may be able to even name some of them. Like magnesium, potassium, sodium.
Yeah. Well, as carnivore or low carb people, our diet tends to flush those electrolytes out of our system. We don't hold on to them as much.
The initial weight loss that happens with this is water weight, which is a big component of the inflammation that we're carrying at all times. But with that will go the sodium and the potassium and the magnesium. Why isn't, if this is such a great diet, why don't we get the electrolytes we need? You can't get anything out of the meat that the animal didn't eat. And so if the grass that the cows graze on is growing on soils that are depleted through,
Of minerals.
depleted of minerals through the way agriculture has been done on that land for a long time, then the cow's not going to have those minerals. And so therefore, we need to supplement. And how would you know if you needed to supplement with them? Well, the symptoms of keto flu, maybe some nausea, heart palpitations, low energy, brain fog, things that you would expect to not happen on carnivore because you've heard great things about it, might simply be because you need to supplement some electrolytes, primarily sodium, but magnesium and potassium are also important.
For me, I can get muscle cramps at night, if leg cramps, if I don't have my electrolytes during the day. And I also notice that if I get extremely thirsty, I probably need that, especially sodium, to help me really hydrate myself. Yeah.
So how do you get these?
Well, I use a packet of electrolytes. You want to make sure that you've got a clean electrolyte. You may or may not choose flavored electrolytes, depending on your sugar sweet tolerance. I use flavored.
Yeah, we're not doctors. We can't talk about dosages or anything like that. But you probably will, at least in the initial months of carnivore, want way more salt than you've ever thought you would ever eat in your life. Although I've been hearing that there's a number of carnivores like Dr. Chafee, and I think Steak and Butter Gal is now not eating extra salt. And I don't know if that's just an adaptation that happens over a long period of time or what.
Yeah.
It could be.
Could be. So, yeah.
But in the short term, for a new carnivore, you may need to supplement with salt. And you may be thinking, oh, my blood pressure is 180 over 100, and I'm not supposed to eat salt.
We're not doctors or health professionals. But go look at Dr. Barry's videos.
He's got
Search
tons
on
of
salt.
content on this. Yeah.
And it is really was a myth.
Because it's not the salt that's causing the high blood pressure. It's the refined carbs in mass quantities.
Ooh. This one hit me when we were taking our daughter up to college. It's a 2-hour drive, not a big drive, but a 2-hour drive. We always would stop. You go into the gas station. You have to buy something to use their restroom if you're a good person. And what were my options to buy? So it's water, right? Well, I could get some water, some bubbly water. Well, I think you should plan your car treats. If you're a person, when you're out running errands, you've got that diet soda with you. If you go on a road trip and you always grab X, Y, or Z at the quick trip, you want to plan for that in advance, because let me tell you, you're going to get in that car and you're going to be going...
Yeah, it's going to trigger a pattern,
a
habit, and then you're going to want it, and then you're going to end up stopping for gas in a bathroom break anyway, and then you're going to be in there, and you're going to be looking at the, like, what can I have? And then you're going to look at the ingredients on the Jake's jerky, and you're going to see that it's full of carbs, and you're like, what? I thought this was made out of meat. And they added a bunch of sugar to it to make it taste delicious, and you're like, well, I can't have that. I might as well eat a Twinkie.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and then you've talked yourself out of your commitment. You don't want to do that.
No. So plan ahead, whether that is grabbing that jerky from home and having it in the car with you, or knowing that you can grab that unsweetened iced tea or that black coffee when you stop at the quick trip. Lots of places don't have good sparkling water.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised by when I first started carnivore. I was really shocked. So just plan ahead. If you are a person who needs those car treats, plan ahead.
I want to hear what car treats they have.
The viewers?
Yeah. Like, do you have a car treat or a snack even at home that is like your go-to thing just in case you need something to keep yourself from going off plan? Because Generally, you should be eating enough at a meal where you're not really hungry between meals.
Right.
But sometimes it happens because maybe, like happens to me, my lunch didn't have enough fat. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, I kind of could go for something. That's a risky time.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when I'm in the car, I don't have to be hungry. I'm going, if I'm out running.
it's automatic?
It's kind of just like,
Be nice to have a little.
yeah, I've got to get gas. There's the Quick Trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
so-
it used to be you would stop for the little fountain Coke.
Oh, the little buddy at the Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
In this area, we have Quick Trip, but
any.
yeah.
We know any convenience store.
And
like that.
of course, if you're going to get a little one, it's only like a nickel more for 32 more ounces.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I knew that. That was a step too far for me.
I would document my progress. And so after 30 days, I would take a new picture, I would take new measurements and write it down and see.
Yeah.
Because if the scale doesn't move that much, if you've got these other changes that have happened, it will just give you more confidence and commitment to stay the course and keep going.
Yeah.
And if you want to see what happens if you do, check out this video.